Star Wars. Who's ready for Star Wars? It's already been out for a week.
And it wasn't that great.
Oh, spicy takes right off the bat. Except not, because that's what everyone has been saying.
Pretty much, yeah.
Alright, so today we're reviewing on Walker Movie Talk Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. So, brief overall thing, what did you think of the movie?
I mean, it was all right. It's not good. It's not bad. I don't know. I'm leaning towards bad the more I think on it, but I'm gonna stick with my original guns right after I saw it. Not good, not bad. It's just there.
For me personally, I loved it. I adored it when I watched it, and then the more I reflect on it, the more problems I have with it, which, you know what, we'll discuss. And one thing I think that's important for the audience to know going into this is our relationship with The Last Jedi. Where do you stand with The Last Jedi?
I have pretty much the same opinion on it as this one. It's just like it's not good. It's not bad. It's got its own flaws, but it's got some things that it does pretty well. It's just kind of there too, for me.
It is up there with my favorite Star Wars movies. I'm a Last Jedi lover. I just love the uniqueness that it does, and this one's not very unique. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. First of all, Philip, what was the story?
The story? Oh gosh. It's been a second. Let me think. You do this part.
Okay, so the dead speak.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, that's how the opening crawl starts. I don't remember the rest of it.
I hated that.
They should have said the dead speak in Fortnite.
Oh yeah.
Because that's where the Palpatine speech was.
It just picks up out of nowhere, and then it's just like all of a sudden it's like, hey, Emperor's back. How about that?
Yep, Palpatine is back, and Kylo feels threatened, so he wants to get a Sith Wayfinder to make sure that Palps doesn't take over the First Order. Rey wants the Sith Finder so he doesn't rule the galaxy because he's evil.
Yeah.
And
then meanwhile, she's just kind of booling on that planet. She's just kind of chilling, fighting robots.
Yep, I don't know what booling is, but
it's just like, it's just chilling.
Okay.
Have you never heard that word?
Nope.
Wow.
So yeah, it's just a race to try to defeat Palpatine. Which brings us to characters. Let's start with the villain. Let's start with Palpatine. What did you think, Philip?
I mean, he's just it's a recycle. He's not a new villain. He doesn't bring anything new to the table. It's just a safe villain play, and he doesn't really feel developed. He's just kind of back all of a sudden, and he's just a big looming threat out of nowhere. And he was a good villain. He just wasn't developed at all.
I felt the same way at first. I remember at Star Wars Celebration when I heard the laugh and Ian McDiarmid came out. Nothing against that actor. He's great. And he's fantastic in this movie with what he's given. And just when they announced at Star Wars Celebration that Palpatine was back, I rolled my eyes. I was like, really? Retreading old ground like this?
There's so much material they had to work with, and then they just kind of went back.
But I felt like if you are going to bring him back this late in the game, they probably did it about as best they could.
But they didn't explain it well enough.
That is true.
He was just kind of
I don't know. I don't think they needed to explain it much more than the whole I have died before.
Also, it raises the question: was the one in Return of the Jedi, was he in the original trilogy, was he a clone?
I mean, they don't ever even really say that the one in this movie is a clone. I personally think that he survived the Death Star explosion just from sheer dark side power. And I mean, you notice he's practically a zombie in this movie, which I love that visual. I'm surprised Disney was willing to have a zombie Palpatine be the bad guy, because it was really creepy.
It was pretty creepy. He
He
had all that metal stuck in him.
Visually, I thought it was really good. He had broken fingers and glazed over eyes. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty good visual.
But yeah, so the other characters, what did you think of Daisy Ridley as Rey?
I mean, she just kind of. It's another like the whole thing is just like not great, not bad, but like she's just another kind of just another Jedi to me. She's just kind of there. She's just going through the hero's journey. She's just trying to do the right thing. It's something. It's it's a story everyone's all seen before. And I don't think she's like super well developed either. But she's just kind of like she's all and plus and in the Last Jedi. This is going back to Last Jedi a little bit, but like she all of a sudden she's suddenly so OP with the Force and so in touch with it, basically in what feels like out of nowhere. And so like she has a good arc and everything, but I don't know, I feel like they could have done better.
Without spoiling anything, they do explain where all her power comes. I don't really like it, but and also I think you're right. I think she's just kind of a bland character. She has like she's shocked about all of this Force stuff, and that's kind of like all there is to it. Is she keeps being like surprised by stuff and then really good at it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, next is John Boyega as Finn.
He just kept on declining. Like at the point in this movie, it was like another thing where it just felt like, why was he even there? It didn't really feel like he contributed. It was honestly just more of Rey's story, and the story of the others didn't really seem to matter in the long run as much because Rey, she's, I don't know.
She overshadowed them?
Yeah, she overshadowed them way, 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 way too much.
Finn, I am just the most disappointed in how they handled him in these movies. It's such a unique idea that they came across with. It's an ex-stormtrooper, somebody who defected from the villains to the heroes. That should be a brilliant idea, so interesting to explore. But then he's just kind of a comic relief character who just like makes jokes and stuff. And
yeah, he starts out good in The Force Awakens, and he just keeps going down with every movie.
Yeah, where he in The Force Awakens, he's great because he's just like stumbling around trying to figure out how the world works outside of this rigid order that he's had to follow his whole life.
Yeah.
And then in The Last Jedi, his whole plot is that he has to like choose if he wants to join the Resistance or if he wants to just live for himself. And then he chooses the Resistance, which, I mean, I don't know, it felt, even though it is slightly different than The Force Awakens, it just felt really samey in The Last Jedi. And then in this movie, it's practically nothing.
Yeah, he doesn't even do anything of importance, really.
He does do this, though. He does go, Rey!
Yeah, all he does is just sit there.
What about Oscar Isaac as Poe Dameron?
I felt like he had potential, and they developed him. I feel like he was the most well developed of the three, in my opinion. But he still had so much more potential, and they could have gone much further with it, and they just didn't.
I think he had a good character arc in The Last Jedi, and then, this one he kind of got stunted with the character growth. He just didn't do much. He was kind of annoying in this one.
He was annoying for a lot of it, but like there were some moments where I felt like, I don't know, that I felt the development for him.
Mm-hmm. It's like, I don't know. Even though Han was a scoundrel in the original trilogy, I still like him more. And I'm not usually all about the kind of partially jerk characters, stuff like Han Solo is not really my favorite of the original trilogy. I don't like him all that much because he is a scoundrel. But I still like him more than Poe because Poe, like, he pretends to be this good guy who cares and stuff, but then he's like an absolute jerk to people.
Yeah.
I don't know. Of all of our main three trios, and you got the original Luke, Han, Leia, and then in the prequels, I'd argue it's Padme, Obi-Wan, and Anakin. And I think their dynamic is better than our current one because our trio hasn't even come together until this movie.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not great.
Mm-mm.
But the big one that, has people talking, Carrie Fisher as Leia Organa, which is an amazing feat that she has managed to play this character while dead.
Yeah. I mean, she was just kind of felt like the same as she was in the first two movies. I mean, still great. She did a great job, still.
You know, there's a very interesting reason why it feels the same as the first two movies.
Because it was filmed during the other two movies.
Yes.
I mean, there's not much they could have done. They played that her character right.
And for what it is, I think they did a good job of blending in, that old footage and making it match this new story.
Yeah.
There were some parts where like other characters had to explain her actions because she couldn't just tell somebody what she's about to do because they didn't have those lines.
Yeah.
But, I think it was an overall success.
Yeah.
And then, let's see. The breakout character of this movie. Do you know who I'm about to say?
That chick that rode the horse?
No one cares about her.
Exactly.
The horse was more interesting than her.
Yeah.
Let me give you a hint.
Hey!
Oh yeah, Babu.
Babu, my name Babu Frick.
Yeah, he was great. I mean, I loved his comedy appealed to me specifically because I don't know. I just thought he was funny. I didn't think he was timed right. Like he had they had other places they could have done it. Put him in, and it felt like he ruined some kind of serious moments. But I still loved it. I still laughed because I don't know. I just loved him. He's a cool old guy.
Yep, I 100% agree. So, final character that we forgot to touch on before Leia was Adam Driver as Kylo Ren.
Oh yeah, I mean he angsty little guy. He did all right. It's just this.
I love his new mask.
Yeah, the new mask was good, and he definitely felt he felt pretty evil and very in touch with his dark side at the beginning. But you can still kind of see him, I guess. Struggle through the whole movie and everything. And I mean, I still think he does a adequate job.
I think this was his weakest outing though in the whole trilogy.
It was his weakest outing, but he still managed to, I think, outperform and be a little bit better than the others, and writing wise too.
I don't know. I think I liked Rey a little bit better than him in this movie. I found her a little more interesting than him. Because I just think he ran the course of his character after The Last Jedi, where he like kind of set in that he is going to be the evil boss. Yeah. I don't know. His character does take an interesting turn, but we'll save that for spoilers. All right. But for now, before we move on to spoilers, what did you think of the writing, the dialogue?
A lot of it didn't feel very natural, and I'm gonna go and talk about the pacing here too, as in the whole story goes.
It is breakneck.
Whiplash, total whiplash.
Which I thought at first I attributed what I heard about the fast pace. I attributed it to the whole like light speed skipping thing that was happened at first, but no, they're still even without light speed skipping, they still jump from location to location to location. Because it's mostly a fetch quest. The plot is mostly...
Yeah. They're like, go get this. Okay. Now go get this. Okay. Now go here. We'll do that.
I feel like they could have cut one or two locations and had a much more flowing narrative.
Oh, yeah. There's, like, the beginning was just incredibly fast-paced. I could not follow it all, hardly. And then it's like, by the end of the first fourth of the movie, it slowed down so much, and and then it hurt, and then it was painfully slow, and it's just they put the emphasis in the wrong spots. They added so much content and they put so much in it that didn't need to be in there, when they had other things they could have focused on and developed and like to make it much better. So they put the meat on the wrong bones.
And honestly, and to go from structure writing to dialogue writing, I think the dialogue it's a little funky. It's a lot of characters like explaining. I think it's the worst with Palpatine. I felt bad for Ian McDiarmid because he had to try to do his silly voice while also trying to make it seem natural that he's like, explaining every little thing that's happening. He's like, oh, the two of you, all the Force, the happening, the dark side, the Jedi,
Yeah, the dialogue
It was
is...
so much. I could not follow what he was saying because there was just word salad after word salad.
Yeah, it was not natural at all. A lot of the dialogue was not natural.
What would you say the theme of the movie is?
Man, I can't even tell you.
I don't think they really had one in
They
mind.
really didn't have one.
Like,
It's just, it's just like Star Wars. It's over.
going back to like The Last Jedi, there's always been like the theme of good versus evil, and I guess the theme of this one is good triumphs in the end, and it's as simple as that.
Even though like the Force is supposed to be a balance. I don't know. At least they say it's supposed to be. A good triumphs in the end of Return of the Jedi, which was still, that trilogy was still obviously the best, but I don't know. I feel like they say there should be a balance of the Force in the movies. At least I think they say that, if I'm remembering right. But they never really seem to do that, with any of their endings.
Well, I think somebody asked George Lucas once. They said something about like, well, wouldn't balance be equal light and equal dark? And he was like, no, balance to the Force means there's no darkness anymore because that's evil, or something like that.
Oh, then again, George Lucas is George Lucas.
Yeah, he's not the genius that people praise him as now because they don't like Rian Johnson.
Yeah.
All right, shade aside, how did you like the music?
The music was so I don't know, everything else, the mediocreness of everything else overshadowed the music for me, and I didn't have time to really focus on it, so I can't say anything for it really.
Before I saw the movie, I saw the name of one track was Finale, and I was like, oh my gosh, finale to the biggest media franchise in history. And I don't know, I never really heard anything that sounded like a finale.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's John Williams' fault. He is a genius. And I think Abrams probably just wanted him to make the most safe Star Wars-y music he could. Like, if Abrams directed The Phantom Menace, we would have never gotten Duel of the Fates.
Oh, yeah.
Because he probably would have been like, no, that's not Star Wars enough.
Yeah, I agree with that. Man, Duel of Fates is great. I've played that. I've played that before.
You played it on your trumpet.
Yeah, I played it in Disney World.
That was pretty rad.
That was really rad.
I didn't get to do that.
It was great.
But yeah, the music was just standard, and without any knowledge of what went on behind the scenes, I'm blaming J.J. Abrams instead of John Williams.
Oh, yeah.
With absolutely no grounds.
I mean, I still agree.
How were the effects?
Puppets
everywhere.
Yeah,
that's what it was. Disney. The thing that got me most excited about these new sequel movies back in 2015 was seeing that there was going to be more practical effects than special effects.
Oh yeah, I definitely the use of practical effects just feels so Star Wars.
But I feel like maybe they focused too much on that. I feel like they figured we'll just put a whole bunch of puppets on screen and people will forgive the bad writing.
Yeah.
It's the same goes with animated movies. It's like good animation can't save a bad story the way a good story can save bad animation.
Yeah.
And I think it goes the same with effects here. And the puppet effects are good, but there's just so many of them.
It just didn't save it at all. It didn't do anything justice.
All right, what about the action?
The action, for the most part, it was all right. There was one lightsaber fight that one lightsaber fight was really good and it worked really well and it was visually great to see. But then there was another that was completely the opposite and it felt so awkward and forced and unnatural and I didn't like it. And then that's the main thing when I think of action, especially in this movie, in Star Wars movies.
Bro, there's so many lightsaber fights in this one. Considering that
and flips
in the last one, there was no contact between lightsabers in The Last Jedi.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Two lightsabers never touched each other in The Last Jedi.
Wow.
They really made up for that because it's over and over again in this movie.
Yeah.
And it's just not compelling, though.
Yeah.
I just never found... There was only one fight that I found interesting, and it happens towards the beginning of the movie.
Oh, yeah.
So that's unfortunate. We'll talk about that in a second in spoilers. You know what? We'll move on to spoilers right now. But before we do, Philip, what is your rating?
My rating? Out of, like, what kind of system are we doing?
Don't you always give it, like, out of 10, right?
I got out of 10. I think I'm pretty... 5 out of 10.
5 out of 10, wow. I give it a... It was pretty good, but could have been better out of 10. Philip gives it 5 puppets out of 10.
Just 5 stars.
No, that's our that's our thing, is you say a number, and then I come up with an arbitrary thing from the movie that you give it out of 10.
Okay.
In this case, it's puppets. Puppets everywhere!
Babu Fricks.
5 Babu Frick puppets. Babu frickin' puppets. Haha, you get it?
No bad word.
No, it's fine. Kappa, please, no! No, just a theater of the mind. Imagine, like, a man in a trench coat from Kappa just bursts in through our window.
Where's Kappa?
Kappa's the... I'll explain it later. Alright. So, spoilers. The first spoiler I was talking about with the lightsaber fight that I found interesting was the one where they do a Force Skype, as people are calling it now, and then it evolves into a lightsaber fight. That is awesome. That is a great example of taking a concept from the previous movie and evolving it in this one, instead of doubling back on it like every other spoiler in this list that I have here.
Yeah.
And it was... Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I agree. I agree with that.
And one thing I forgot to mention about the action, there was one thing that, I don't know why I thought this, but during the lightsaber fight on the water, the only interesting part about it that I found was, aside from Rey stabbing Kylo in the gut, which that happens.
That was pretty great.
There's a part where she does a backflip, and then when she touches down, for some reason I got real Dragon Ball Z vibes from that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Rey stabs Kylo, and then Leia, meanwhile, she sends like a little Force message to both of them, and I thought that was just such a great way to have Leia go out.
Yeah. I don't know, like it just like I know it's like a good way to have Leia go out, but just like to me she's helping out these two people that I just don't care enough about. You know?
I think in that moment I care about them because she cares about them.
Yeah.
At least in that
see
moment.
That, but like I don't know, their stories aren't compelling enough, and it's not doing anything to get me emotionally attached in any sort of way, and I can't really sympathize with like either of them or their stories. They're just not developed enough for me to like.
I can though, like
care. I don't know.
I think it's compelling because that's her son who's turned evil, and her last action is reaching out to him and this girl that she's kind of like adopted into her family.
Yeah, I mean, I can get the Kylo part a lot easier than I can the Rey. You know, the reaching out to Kylo much more than I can see the reaching out to Rey.
But so Rey, she stabs Kylo, and then we see a new Force power that if you watch The Mandalorian, you would know about. Force heal is now a thing. Which, I mean, I guess makes sense because of how Palpatine said the whole thing, even in the back in the prequels, about the Force being able to save people from death.
Yeah.
Which, does that mean Rey is tapping into her dark side when she heals him?
I don't know.
I think so. Oh man, it's another huge missed opportunity about how, this Force heal power could be like a balance between the dark and the light. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh.
I agree.
Oh my goodness.
It's just, it's not dark, it's not light, it's just life, And Force is kind of what powers life.
High five! But, so after this scene, after Rey stabs him, she runs away, and then we see two people return. The first of which, and I think it's out of order, honestly, because the first one that we see revealed is Kylo's standing there by himself, and then we hear, "Hey, kid."
And you got Han.
That part, I love that part. It's so great.
That is a good part.
Because I was not expecting it at all. And it's really touching because, like...
And it is good to see how it, like, you know, when Kylo's kind of, like, at a vulnerable moment, which, I kind of, like, I attribute that to, like, Leia trying to get through to him and her use of the Force, because, you know, apparently, surprise, another spoiler, she had Jedi training, and...
Yeah, Disney really had to get in another use of that de-aging technology.
Yeah. And then, you know... It just kind of like it was her getting through to him, and he was at kind of like a weak point at that point in his own, like, you know, I guess where he wanted to be within the Force, dark or light or whatever. And then the during that's whenever, you know, he saw Han, and that's when it really got to him, you know.
Mm-hmm. So
that's what made it effective. I thought it was good.
Kylo gets redeemed, and I like that scene between him and his dad because it recreates the one from Force Awakens where he kills his dad. But now it's got completely new meaning, you know, this thing.
Yeah.
And I love the line where he's all like, "Dad," and then Han's like, "I know." And you fill in the blanks with other callbacks from previous movies. Oh, it's just so well done.
Yeah.
That's JJ at his best, is like using old material to make like something meaningful.
And like make it seem more, you know, important and stuff like that.
Yep. Also, going back to the whole thing that you mentioned about Leia, so apparently she had Jedi training. I thought we knew that after The Last Jedi when she used the Force to pull herself through the ship.
Yeah, but like, I don't know. I feel like they did it in the wrong order. They should have like shown that flashback with the Jedi training before we saw her pull herself back. I think because
it's a more fun reveal if you see the power first.
But then again, it's just like but it's unexplained, you know, and people the specific way they did it didn't make it too obvious that that's what she was doing, in my opinion, and just like I don't know, it just seemed far fetched at the moment. Does that make sense? In the moment, it seemed far fetched.
I guess so, but I mean, I disagree. The thing that I don't like about the scene with the de-aging is the things that they're doing on screen don't even match what Mark Hamill is describing. Which, oh yeah, that brings us to our next thing. Mark Hamill is back as Luke Skywalker, as a Force ghost. And, you know, he is there to tell Rey that he was wrong in The Last Jedi about quitting the Jedi. Which, you know...
Which is just a complete retcon of
No, it's not even, though, because that's how he ends The Last Jedi, is realizing that he's wrong.
Yeah, I guess.
And coming back. Oh, man, his hair is too long, though. I don't like how long his hair is.
I don't know, it feels like too much of a retcon. Like, he spent, like, so much time thinking like that, and all of a sudden he's just like, guess I was wrong. Gonna die now.
I don't think he spent as long isolated as people seem to... Because he's an old man in the flashback scene when Kylo burns down the place and leaves.
Yeah.
So people seem to think that he spent... Like, he immediately went from Return of the Jedi to isolating himself. He spent like 30 years...
I mean, I know that.
Training as a Jedi. I don't know. People just... Their perspectives are all off on the whole Luke storyline. But that's neither here nor there. It's a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Ha ha! So with Kylo's redemption, one thing that I loved about it is when he runs off to go help Rey, and I'm sorry, we're jumping all around plot-wise here, but who cares? When he runs off to go help Rey, he's out of his Sith robes, and he's in just, regular clothes, and all he's got is his blaster. He's throwing away his lightsaber, and he looks like his dad. He looks like Han Solo doing that.
Yeah.
Just in his mannerisms and everything. That part was awesome. One more, a little bit of a minor spoiler. Nothing happens to 3PO. That whole thing about him losing his memory banks or whatever, it was a non-issue.
It didn't even need to be in.
His memory got wiped, and then he got it back from R2. And they made it super emotional for no reason.
Yeah.
But it did lead to my favorite line where, like...
It's a stupid joke.
It's a stupid joke, but I love it. Because as soon as he gets his memory wiped, the first thing that he hears, he's all like, oh, who are you people? And the person that speaks up is, I am Babu Frick. And then later somebody mentions Babu's name, and he goes, Babu Frick, he is my oldest friend. It's such a good joke. I love it.
And it's not well timed.
I don't even remember where it was timed at.
No good.
So the biggest spoiler of the movie, and the one that I absolutely despise, I rolled my eyes so hard. Rey, you're a Palpatine. When they said that, when Kylo said that, our theater that we were in, everybody was like, whoa! And I was like...
so easy to predict.
Oh, gosh. It's not easy to predict. It just makes no sense.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought it was easy to predict, but like...
Well, it's as easy to predict as saying, like, she's a Kenobi, she's a Skywalker, she's a Solo.
I mean, you know she was going to be something. Why was everyone so shocked, you know?
The way I would have done it, and I've said this before, but not on a microphone, what I would have done is she's still a nobody. Her parents are still just regular old drunkards. But then she gets a force vision from Anakin, Hayden Christensen Anakin, and he goes, Rey, I am your father. And she's all like, what? And then he's all like, well, from a certain point of view, I willed the force to create you because it needed a new savior for the light, just like myself, and powerful in the force. That would have been better. It would have connected her to an old character because Anakin would have like created her from beyond the grave, from within the Force, but she wouldn't be directly blood related to them.
You willed the midichlorians.
But no, she's super powerful because she's the granddaughter of Palpatine, and which means Palpatine now has two children, or has a child and his wife, and I think that is confirmed that his child was the father.
Yeah.
And now they're significant apparently, but then according to Kylo, they chose to be nobodies. Oh my gosh, that justification was so dumb.
Yeah, I agree. It wasn't a very well set up backstory at all.
It was not, and dumb. And also the line, they sold you to protect you, is one of the worst lines I've ever heard.
Oh yeah. Who said that again?
Kylo. He said, they sold you to protect you.
Yeah. No good.
No good. No good.
A lot of this no good.
Well, in the end, Rey saves the day because she is all the Jedi, and Palpatine is all. I don't
like that line.
It was so weird because it came the same way as Iron Man's line.
Yeah.
That's in my head. Your brain kind of automatically fills in stuff that you're expecting, or not that you're consciously expecting, but stuff you recognize.
Yeah.
She goes, I am, and my head was expecting her to be like Iron Man. I was like, wait, no, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But I liked her hearing the voices. I liked hearing Freddie Prinze Jr., Ashley Eckstein.
I mean, I like that too. I just didn't like the I am the Sith, I am all the Jedi.
Which doesn't even make sense because the Sith are all about themselves, and their whole thing is they kill their previous masters and take control.
Yeah. It doesn't make any sense.
Oh man. But so, and then another thing that I think should have happened, Lando comes in and he brings a bunch of like ships from around the galaxy, including you can spot the Mandalorian's ship, the ship from Rebels, and I think they should have shown like the Force ghosts of the Jedi, and they should have shown inside the ships that Lando brought. They should have shown the Mandalorian. That would have been cool.
Yeah.
And shown the Rebels from the TV show. And shown my favorite Star Wars character, Hondo Ohnaka. Now probably most famous for Galaxy's Edge. Because I think after this, the general public will probably know him from that better than the TV shows, even though that's where he's from.
Yeah.
Hondo Ohnaka! And Jar Jar. I don't care. Jar Jar should have been in one of those ships. Because who knows how long Gungans can live. So, and then the movie ends with Palpatine. He's been defeated. Rey kills him. Also, he has a weird thing where he's all like, Rey, you must kill me and take your place as the dark side leader of the galaxy if you don't want your friends to die. And it's like, why can't she just kill him, not take the throne? Her friends won't die. She won't go dark. It's really dumb. And then
it doesn't make any sense.
It makes no sense.
It really doesn't.
I feel like JJ's just trying to recreate what happened in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Strike me down and take your place.
It's the ending is a direct parallel to Return of the Jedi.
Which I think can work if you have, have it in a new context.
Yeah.
A new meaningful one, but
and new
really
consequences too. But the consequences don't feel any different, honestly.
Reylo happens, which I was not a fan of. Ever since Force Awakens, I've been a fan of Rey and Finn. And I feel like that's what they wanted to go with, but then the fans wanted Reylo.
So that's what they gave them. It's just fan service, the movie.
Yeah.
A lot of it is, at least a whole lot of it is.
And so everybody goes back to the Resistance wins, bringing in all those other ships, and Rey defeating Palpatine. And it's a happy ending. Rey buries Luke and Leia's lightsabers, and then she makes her own, and it's yellow, which she should have just made her own from the beginning. How did she even fix Anakin's?
Yeah.
It didn't even have a scratch on it, Philip.
It's ridiculous. So much is unexplained. So much is just they put like I said earlier, that's the biggest problem. They put the wrong the wrong meat on the bones or something like that. They put the meat on the wrong bones.
It is just as much fan service as Endgame was.
Yeah.
But Endgame did it right.
Had good content. At least, well...
You can't just throw familiar things out there and see what sticks.
Yeah.
Some of it did stick. Some of it was really good. So that's our review. I want to end this with the Twin Sons, even though we just saw that last movie. And that's how this one ends, too.
Yeah.
But I want to end this with a very controversial spoiler. Chewie got a medal.
Chewie got a medal.
Did you like that?
I loved it.
I hated it.
Really?
Yes, because that's... Number one, that's just kind of a joke.
Yeah.
Nobody really cares that Chewie didn't get a medal because they've explained it in the other material, too. That he didn't want the medal. Wookiees' culture is like... They don't accept, like, awards and stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they've explained that in canon. That's a thing. They even... In the comics, they gave him a medal. And he got rid of it because he didn't want it.
Oh. Well, now I don't like it anymore.
Yeah. It's just JJ being like, oh, the fans, they like Chewie. They didn't like that Chewie didn't get a medal, so I'll give him a medal.
Yeah, who's to say he didn't go throw it away after that?
I know it sounds like I absolutely hate this movie. I really don't, but it's just the bad stuff sticks out in my mind more.
Yeah. I don't think it's a very good movie.
Overall,
I'm leaning. I said 5 earlier, but I'm honestly leaning towards like a 4.
Ooh,
the more I think about it,
I wouldn't say 4 because I still get that nice feeling of Star Wars.
I don't know. I want to get that. I'll be honest.
I want to end the review positively, and I just want to say, this movie, maybe not as much as The Force Awakens or anything in the original trilogy, but it still has that feeling of Star Wars, where just from I think the trailer is better than this movie, which that happens a lot.
I agree.
It's not like a horrible, like, oh, how could you say that thing? A lot of movies are not as good as their trailers. But yeah, it's just, I got emotional when I watched the original trailer and I just heard that slow, dramatic, classic Star Wars theme.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I get the same feeling when I watch Rise of Skywalker. So, it doesn't matter if this movie wasn't that great, because we'll be getting more and more Star Wars until the end of time.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, thanks for watching.
Bye-bye.
Hey, hey!